Hey everybody, Nick here, and this right here is the Spyderco Nirvana. It's a production version of a Recenti custom knife. It's an integral knife, which is very interesting. First integral Spyderco's done, and it's really anticipated. And I picked one up, and the Instagram is universally demanding that I give some first impressions of this. First, though, a disclaimer, this is not a full review. I don't know what the full review is going to look like yet, because my opinions on this guy are changing quickly, and the knife itself is changing. It's smoothing out, the lock bar tension has gone way down already. It started off with a way too stiff detent, and now it's softer. And, so I don't know where I'm going to land on this guy. I'm confused by it. I don't fully understand it. And so I'm not going to claim any final knowledge here. I will eventually, but for now, I don't know. But what I do want to tell you are some of the things that I do know about the knife, and hopefully that'll be helpful to some of you who are looking for any information right now. And you'll get a full review down the road once I finally feel like I get it. Here we go. Okay, so like I said, I'm confused about a lot of things, but some things I know. I know that I like the integral handle a lot. For those of you not in the know, an integral handle is where you've just got a single piece of metal that serves as your scales as well as your lock bar and everything like that. Unlike most knives, which have scale on one side, scale on the other side, and then a backspacer in the middle here. This is a Marfione sigil, by the way. Thanks to my buddy Plummin for sending this guy along. But anyways, I like the integral handle on the Nirvana review coming up of that guy soon, of the Nirvana, because, well, it's neat. I've not had an integral before, and this is a well-done one. So I like that. Another thing that I like more than I expected to is this pattern. If you just look at it in pictures, it looks like just gray lines on a darker gray surface. But in reality, and I hope you can see this on the camera, these do catch the sun. There's a reflectivity in there. And so it feels a little more dynamic when you've got it in your hands than it does just looking at a picture of it. It looks kind of weird and cheesy in pictures, but in the hand, in the pocket, it's kind of nice. I like that a lot more than I figured I would. It just looks vaguely 90s, like Trapper Keeper, to borrow somebody else's comment, who I've forgotten, in pictures, but in person it's pretty compelling. I like that it's very easy to disassemble because it's only a 4-part knife. That's nice. One thing that blows me away about this guy is the solidity of the feel of it. Once you lock this guy open, because there's nothing to flex really here except the lock bar, this feels like a fixed blade knife. There's really nothing I feel like I can do to flex any part of it. When it's open, it's a fixed blade, and when it's shut, it's a folding knife, and that's a neat trick. That's entirely subjective, but relative to any knife I have handled in the past, when this guy is open, it feels more solid. Maybe that's just the integralness talking to me here. But it is a neat thing. When I noticed it, it was just like, wow, that's cool. So there you go. It is a very large knife. Size comparison real quick. Spyderco Delica, Ontario Rat number 1. Over here, Shirogorov Hati, Grimsmo Norseman, why not? And, yeah. So, I mean, it's a big knife. No doubt about that. Maybe even a little too big. But the thing is, despite being that, it actually carries fairly nicely. Partly because it's not all that heavy, although it does feel very dense. But you're looking at under 5 ounces here, 4.79 ounces, and also it's in a pretty small footprint, even relative to your Spyderco Sleesh buoy. Although it's bigger on every dimension, it's a little wider. It's because of the way that it's kind of shaped, it carries very small in the pocket. This surface here is very smooth, so your hand gets past. So, I mean, this knife carries a lot better than I expected it to. I handled it and it's like, wow, this is big. And then I put it in my pocket and it's like, huh, it ain't that big. So that's a neat little trick right there. So, yeah, those are some things I know immediately. These are some other things I know. Note I'm avoiding good, bad, and the ugly right now. Okay, the blade stock is thicker than I expected on this guy. It's thicker than the PM2, it's thicker than your Sleesh buoy, it's actually even thicker than your Graham Razel here. This is a very thick blade, and it's all the more so because it's saber ground, which means that this full thickness portion extends for a good chunk of the blade. So that's that is something you got to keep in mind. I'm going to do a lot of cutting tests to see whether that's actually a problem in practical use. One thing it does mean is, because you've got a long blade with a lot of thickness to it, is that the balance is pretty far forward on this guy. Like, this is the natural balance point on the knife. That's not bad by any stretch, but it is further forward than I actually anticipated picking it up initially, so it's something to keep in mind. The blade finish on this guy does leave me a little cold right now. It's an acid stonewash sort of affair, and it just makes the knife kind of a uniform shade of gray in a lot of ways, and it's a little, honestly, boring for me. The rest of the knife has got a lot of panache, and the blade is kind of a hard work sort of finish. I don't know. Maybe it'll grow on me. I don't know. But for now, I don't care for the blade finish. I kind of wish they'd done something, even just raw metal, more like on your PM2 or something like that. Might be a little more interesting. I don't know. One thing that is 100% for sure is that this knife suffers from lock stick. I have put a great deal of Sharpie on the back here. The anti-ox didn't work so well, so I switched over to Sharpie on this guy, and right now the lock face is probably more Sharpie than titanium, and as a result the lock stick is largely at bay, but it's still definitely a factor, and it'll wear in and it'll get better, but that's gonna be ugly, I'll just tell you that much. A knife this expensive having a lock stick issue like that is not so stellar. And then finally, the price is up there at $430. I'm not making a call as to whether this is a good value or not yet, but that's something you really do have to keep in mind, because it's I think the most expensive thing Spyderco makes. So yeah, that's up there. So anyways, like I said, I don't fully understand this yet. I haven't come to any final conclusions. I haven't come near any final conclusions yet. But there is a lot of good here, and there's also some bad here. And that lock stick is ugly, and it's real. So there you go. I will let you know as soon as I know more about this knife, but for now, it's really interesting at the very, very least, and I'll report back later. I hope this has been interesting to you as well, and that you have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Maybe you'll even find Nirvana. All right.